what's up, everybody? My name's Allie, and welcome back to another episode of Booked in Detroit. Recently, I sat down with Morgan Meis and Justin Sledge from Esoterica to learn more about their occult book collection, life experiences, and just more about the occult in general. Take a look. I hope you guys enjoy it. So, why don't we just start by having you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves?
My name is Morgan Meis. Along with Justin, we're the co-owners of Esoterica Occult Books, which is sometimes called Esoterica Rare Books because we accidentally gave it two names. I'm also a co-proprietor and number one helper at the Huckleberry Explorers Club, Museum, General Store, and Gardens, which is here in Detroit in Core City. I teach art history and philosophy of art at CCS, and I'm a writer. Those are most of my lives. I have two secret lives, which I will not reveal.
I don't have any secret lives. That sounds like a lot of work. It's a very notorious public life. So, my name is Justin Sledge. I run a YouTube channel called Esoterica that explores topics in the occult and alchemy. That's sort of my academic background is in philosophy and esotericism. So I study things like magic and alchemy, Kabbalah, witchcraft, and also deal and collect in occult books. So this is an area that I'm really interested in, but also teach philosophy and religion, and yeah, live here in Detroit.
Nice. I'm a big fantasy reader, so I love hearing that you guys are into the occult and alchemy and all that. I think it's so cool. So, Morgan, you lived in New York City for a time before coming to Detroit. How are the two cities alike?
Um, when I first moved to New York, it was 1990. The East Village was a bit of it had a little of that escape from New York vibe to it still. The exciting thing about it is that there was a wide openness to this city and a welcoming quality to weirdos and idealists and people with their own ideas of what they wanted to do. Friends and I started up a art collective called Flux Factory back in the early 90s. I'm not sure that energy so much exists in the current phase of New York. New York goes in and out of phases, but in many ways, Detroit, I feel like, has picked up on some of that energy that
Yeah.
I felt then. So that's similar. A lot of the people, in fact, who were part of that scene in the 90s in New York ended up in Detroit over the last 15 years. So I think that's the main thing.
Nice. Yeah, I've been out there recently to see my sister, and a lot of her friends, they're into the arts and stuff like that, and a lot of them are very interested in Detroit.
Oh,
So,
New York is obsessed with Detroit and
yeah.
the sort of perceived authenticity of Detroit, which is not untrue. I think there is a kind of authenticity to Detroit. You know, one must be careful with a word like that. But yeah, in a way, New Yorkers can't stop talking about and thinking about Detroit. It's funny.
Nice. So, when you first moved to Michigan, you lived in a Zen temple. What was that experience like, and what did you learn from it?
It was very tiring. This is the Zen Center in Hamtramck. We lived in my wife and I, Shufi, lived in the attic, and we had to get up at 5 in the morning for a long series of morning meditations.
Wow.
So it was a taxing and brutal situation, which was frequently beaten with sticks. I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding. But it was pretty rigorous. They are not goofing around over there. But it was also fun in that there's a community feeling over there as well. And it was a nice way to transition into the city until we found our own place, which ended up being what became the Huckleberry Club.
Nice.
My wife is a serious Zen practitioner, by the way, and is just being ordained as a Zen priest this year. So
That's
this
cool.
month, in fact. So yeah,
That's
it
cool.
all
That's
kind of
really
led to
interesting.
that. Yeah.
Can you explain what a cult is to those who may be unfamiliar?
Well, I think the main meaning of a cult is hidden, or you could say secret. So, knowledge, learning, practices that are not immediately apparent and maybe are necessarily hidden or secret because perhaps there's something dangerous or something that you can only reach at a certain level of initiation, like the ancient mystery cults or versions of, let's say, Christian esotericism, where you have to have reached a level of purity or of practice before a kind of deeper relationship with either the teachings or the learnings or even yourself, a deeper relationship to yourself. And you can't, that doesn't come just right on the surface. Something, process maybe has to happen. And so the idea is that there are deeper levels of reality, or that there are deeper levels of relationship to the self or to what's really going on. I think that's the main meaning of a cult. I don't know. Justin might have a different, slightly different take.
I think that the way that the language of occultism emerged was in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, or the debate around whether or not God had created the world with everything apparent to our senses, or whether or not God had hidden things in nature. And there was a split, a debate about this. And so some people held, no, God didn't hide anything from us. And others said, no, God hid things in nature, and there are these secret hidden forces, and the task of the human being is to become godlike by finding them and unlocking their powers. And so this idea raged, and there are whole philosophies around how does one detect these hidden things, these occult things in nature, and use them in order to magnify one's dignity to become godlike. And so this is where the language of the occult really emerges. It's nothing to do with devil worship or Satanism or anything like that. It only takes on that flavor sort of really in the 20th century. But that's the core idea. So sometimes people think that a lot of the books that we deal in are about worshiping the devil or something. No, this was a deeply Christian, deeply Jewish impulse to to worship God by becoming godlike and finding the secret things that God had hidden in nature. So it's a deeply pious thing, occultism, which is sometimes shocking for people to hear that because we now associate it with bad things, but that would not have been the case in the Renaissance and the Middle Ages.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, I didn't really associate it with bad things necessarily, but it is interesting to see how closely different religions tie into it. So, what is it about the occult that interests you and makes you want to keep learning about
I think what's most interesting to me about the material that I work on academically and also the books that we deal in is that it's a suppressed alternative history of the West, that we like to tell a story about how we discovered science and that was the end of it. And the truth of the matter is that science and modernity emerge out of the circles of these occultists in
it?
many
Yeah.
ways. And so that aspect of it's a history that we can't tell ourselves, and that the fact of that repressed history is really really interesting to me. And also, I think another upshot of all of it is that there's just a sense of mystery and awe that dominates these documents. And I think that most of us could use more awe and mystery in our lives.
Yeah. So, Morgan, in past interviews, you've described books you collect as having a type of indescribable aura. Have you ever collected or received a book that immediately gave you like bad vibes or a bad feeling and you just wanted to like tuck it away or maybe like this thing's not coming to my house? Like, have you ever gotten a book like that?
We we do. Um, I think maybe the witch hunting manuals creep me out the most because they were literally used to kill innocent
Yeah.
people. So we have a copy of Malleus Maleficarum right now, the Hammer of Witches, which is one of the notorious books in that area. We also have a number of copies of Del Rio's witch hunting manual have passed through our hands, and I've had in the house. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard not to feel the accumulated sense of um, yeah. of horrible things on those books, and I find them difficult to. I don't hold them lightly, I guess I would
Right.
say. Um, so no, you know what? I'll stop there. Maybe Justin has an example.
I think the only book that I personally have that is creepy is in the same vein. It's a copy of Directorium Inquisitorum by the Catalan Inquisitor Nicholas Emmerich, and it's the book that really like weaponized the Inquisition as a way of extracting confessions through torture and even lying to people to get them to you know snitch on their friends. It's a handbook to how to basically fabricate confessions.
Oh, wow.
And Emmerich is a really frightening person. I mean, he was so frightening that the king of Spain at the time kicked him out for being a psychopath. And this is true of Kramer as well, the guy that wrote the Malleus Maleficarum. So these some of the guys that wrote some of this stuff are basically high functioning serial killers.
Yeah.
Who just happen to be wearing monk's garb, and so yeah, these people are real frightening. I think of Kramer, the guy who wrote the Malleus Maleficarum, was just so obsessed with like torturing women, and you really get Ted Bundy vibes from
Yeah.
this guy. And so I think those books are far more terrifying to me than we've had manuals for summoning demons, and summoning demons is sort of second rate to like
Yeah.
mass murder, and that's really what those books were about. So it's actually the books by the militant priests that scare me far more than the weirdo necromancer summoning demons on his day off.
Yeah. So, when you're looking for occult books to add to your collection, what excites you the most?
I think the most exciting thing about collecting in this area specifically is that these books, you find a Bible, for instance. Bibles were always meant to make it. They were printed, they were meant to be consumed, they were meant to be publicly available. Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologica, that book was meant to make it. These books are printed often anonymously. They're printed often without print marks, and they were actively hunted by the Inquisition. So the fact that these books make it at all, after being hunted for centuries and banned, and you could be caught with them and get in a lot of trouble. So to me, the most exciting thing about them is that they have made it, that they've made it all the way through the centuries, and now they're in my hand. I have a copy of Cornelius Agrippa's 3 Books of Occult Philosophy, and we know that when during the printing of it, the Inquisition literally kicked the door in at the printer, had everyone arrested. And the fact that that book was, after numerous petitions, finally able to be printed, like I have a copy of that. And the fact that the Inquisition basically just barely lost, it's amazing. The book survives at all.
Yeah. I think it's so cool that you guys are able to hold like actual physical pieces of history in your hand and own them.
I mean, something I get excited about sometimes is that things I studied, we both did PhDs in philosophy, but I was very involved with the kind of history or the long lineage of Platonist philosophy. I studied at the New School where history of philosophy was our main focus. I mean, this is a copy of Ficino's translation and collection of the Platonic dialogues. This is from the 16th century. And, I studied this in college and grad school, but to hold an actual literal 16th century copy is a pretty extraordinary thing. I always get a little geeked out in when I'm holding books like this.
Are there any books that you guys have that you have to use gloves in order to handle them?
Gloves, yeah, there was a period where gloves were recommended. I think people have realized that actually gloves they make you a little less dexterous, and so you can often damage books more when you're wearing gloves, and also the oils and such on your fingers. These books have been around. People have been touching them forever, and in fact, that relationship of human stuff to book stuff, it doesn't hurt them. It maybe even sometimes helps them. So it's clean, dry hands is really the convention now in the rare book world.
Nice.
Unless you're handling an absolutely, one of a kind, unique book that's about to fall apart in a
Right.
fancy library or something like that. But then that's different.
What's the rarest or oldest book you have in your collection?
In our collection as esoterica occult books, right now, I guess, what would it be? The oldest would maybe be the Apuleius that's, is it 1517? Yeah, very early. The printed book basically starts or no, no, exactly mid 15th century. So anything that's up to very, very early 16th century, early 1500s, those are in that first generation or so of printed books. So those are always incredible things to have. We've had a couple of books that are in that. Did we ever have a late 15th century?
I have some home.
You do, but right. Justin has his own collection. But so yeah, and I think an Apuleius 1517 is the oldest we have right now.
Yeah, so books prior to 1500 are called incunabula, so literally in the cradle, what it means in Latin. So it's the cradle of printing. And I think the oldest book that I have is a copy of Augustine's On the City of God that was printed in 1487.
Oh, wow.
And so that's right there at the beginning. So when then Gutenberg he would not have quite that long, but it's definitely within the first generation of printing, and it's when printing was still quite controversial.
That's really old.
It's very old. It's like
Yeah.
Columbus has not sailed the ocean blue yet.
Yeah. What inspired the Huckleberry Explorers Club and why is it important to you?
Sorry, repeat the question.
What inspired the Huckleberry Explorers Club and why is it important to you?
I mean, really, this is a question for my wife, Shufi. Her original project was to kind of collect, let's call them everyday objects, things, maybe cast off, little things you might find on the street. Like we have, for instance, a ring, a wedding ring that someone obviously discarded in not in some distress. Little things that some people might call trash, and then assembling a kind of installation, art project, museum, mm, bringing together all these fragments of lost lives, bits of time, bits of the past, bits of experience, um, and then creating a unique, semi-shrine like environment, something between a roadside museum and I don't know, some kind of ancient shrine, catacomb. I don't know. So that idea existed for a long time. And then also the thought of just having a kind of general store as a place where people can hang out and also odd objects can all exist together for no particular reason felt delightful. That has been some version of that project has existed in different locations for about 20 years. And then when we moved here to Detroit 10 years ago, this house, the ground floor of this house became the permanent now home.
Nice.
And then we got about an acre of land behind the house, which then became the kind of living garden extension of that project. All of which really have to be seen in person, I think, to get a proper sense of. And all you have to do is look up Huckleberry Explorers Club and you can find how to get here.
So, what is your favorite memory so far from your collection journey?
I think maybe the thing that's popping to mind is the first auction where I was in charge of going, it was an online auction, but bidding for books. I had never done that before. There is a thrill of that auction situation. You're competing against unknown people. There are these treasures. You really want one. You hit the bid, you feel that excitement. Am I going to get this book or not? Someone else bids, you bid back and forth. The hammers going down, 1, 2, 3, last call. That first time where I won, a rare book in an auction, my blood pressure must have been in a dangerous zone, but it really was a lot of fun. I mean, we love these books and the history behind these books, but the whole process too of the auctions and the rare book world is such a funny, quixotic world of very interesting and unusual people and weird experiences like that. It's really quite a lot of fun, and I'll always remember that first auction. I always get a little thrill every auction, but that first one really did it.
Nice. I feel like that would be definitely really exciting.
Yeah. Auctions and the ultimately indistinguishable from like you realize why people get addicted to gambling.
Yeah.
The auction. I think my favorite moment so far was I'd acquired a handwritten book of magic. So it was a Conjuratio Diaboli, how to conjure the devil. 17th century, neat, but not, it's not really, it's neat, but it's not really exactly what I was looking for. But I reached out to another dealer, and he had a copy of a book I desperately wanted, which was a true and faithful relation of what occurred between Dr. John Dee and some spirits. That's literally the half of the title. And famously, John Dee and his medium Edward Kelly communicated with spirits over the course of about 7 years, ultimately resulting in swapping wives and all kinds of stuff. These angels revealed their secret angel language to them. It's a whole thing. But the record of those conversations with angels was first published in 1659, and I worked on that material as a graduate student. I wrote on John Dee. And so I reached out to the book and I was like, hey, would you be interested in trading this book of magic for the Dr. John Dee book? And he was like, sure. He collects specifically grimoires, books of magic. And so opening the box and getting this book that I had worked on as a graduate student, having an actual 1659 copy of it. And it's fabulously rare, but actually seeing it in person for the first time, or seeing it in my hands, in my collection, I think that was my favorite acquisition so far.
It's like a full circle moment.
Mm-hmm.
So last question is, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can find me at Esoterica on YouTube, a pretty large YouTube channel that focuses just on this material. And also we have our website, Esoterica Rare Books, and we're also on Instagram with Esoterica Rare Books. So you can find us there, where we share highlights of little fun facts about these old books and get into a bit deeper dives on my YouTube channel.
Thanks. Well, thank you guys so much for sitting down and talking to me today. I know I learned a lot and I really enjoyed it. So thank you. Real quick before you guys leave, please check out the Huckleberry Explorers Club. They have some really neat items in their general store, and the museum area is really, really neat. The way they have the area set up is really cool. I would say that it's almost like an art exhibit in and of itself. So please stop by and check it out if you have the time. Thanks.